The next train at platform 5 will be the first HS2 late running train service from London to Birmingham, arriving at 8:35. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. The next train at platform 5 will be the first HS2 late running service train from London to Birmingham, arriving in 2035. For those who understand the 24-hour clock,
yeah,
catch the joke there.
yes.
Just when you thought that they would stop flogging a dead horse, or a dead iron horse in this case, they bring out the whip again, trying to move it on at an added cost of £37 billion. As if they didn't spend enough on the already 16-year idea at a tally of £80 billion. That, of course, after an initial budget of £32.7 billion. So in the end, it will be like 4 times over the initial estimate to get the job done. And as modernization of present day rolling stock with onboard internet access and power points to recharge your cell battery in your computer, the initial vision of having an office on wheels that will get you from Birmingham to London in 10 minutes less is all obsolete. Right. But at least the solicitors, architects, and environmental activists are happy, as is the director of operations of the whole caboodle, who earns a meagre £750,000 a year. It's not a bad gig if you can get it. So almost 4 times as much for half of the project, because phase 2 was scrapped, remember? If that isn't shrinkflation, I don't know what is. Somebody the other day was complaining in the newspaper because Kit Kat, you were getting 1 Kit Kat less in a box of a family pack, paying more for it. That's shrinkflation.
Yeah.
If they were dead, they'd be rolling in the grave with this one, because you're getting less miles of track for more money.
Yes.
That's if the track was even started to be laid. The track hasn't been laid yet. And so, like I said, after not one piece of track has been laid, so far, the current Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, should be given a Nobel Prize for stating the bleeding obvious. She said that the project was an appalling mess. Really? But the most worrying thing she said is when she vowed to sort it out. That's a kiss of death if ever I saw one. And that's if she'll be Transport Secretary in 2035. I mean, come on. There are 2 principal stations in this London to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Right. One is in the London case is Old Oak Common Station.
Yeah.
Which apparently nobody goes to.
No, it's a bit of a ghost station
right.
at the moment. Yeah.
And the other one is in Birmingham, is Curzon Street Station, which is a long way off of Birmingham New Street. You know.
Yeah, I know where it is.
But they are. Somebody once said to me, they are 2 ideal destinations if Ryanair ran a railway company.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you are.
Well,
HS2.
okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I did work on the railway industry as my mainstay for many, many years. I enjoyed railways. I've not, I say, I've not been keeping up with it totally. Well, it's almost impossible to keep up with it totally. It changes, ideas were changing on a daily basis. Yeah, when it was all first kicked off and started, okay. Communications and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I never could understand why anyone would want to get from London to Birmingham that quickly anyway. I used to go to meetings on Birmingham by train and perfectly adequate timing with the existing system. Okay, it's capacity on the existing line, and I understand that. As a railway guy, I understand it. There's only so, even with modern technology, there's only so much long rolling things you can put on a set of line on a certain distance on a set of line. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, you got headway distance. You can't have trains right up like this. It doesn't work like that. They've got to have braking distance and things. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I'd be quite honest. If you had a dedicated freight line, it's just things to move things around. That even if you're taking away office, you still want to move parts around the country and cars and goods and everything else. It makes sense then. Yeah. Um,
Well, HS2 is to be
yeah.
a separate track.
Yeah, that's it. It's a totally separate track, but it was for passengers mainly, from my knowledge. And then
That's
it's
right.
going to keep the
Well,
freight. They're going to keep the
if I
freight,
understood,
the mixed traffic, as we call it, on the existing lines. Yeah. Um. So you can see my logic there. Yeah, move all the freight onto HS2 if you want to move it there, and then move it up to distribute it from hubs across the country. Um.
not if they're going to Curzon Street, they won't.
Well, that's it. It's going to the wrong place now to even think about that, unless you're going to. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I could understand it if you had a separate freight line that you just loaded on long trains of freight and moved it about. If you've got that, yeah, whatever your requirements are. Um, Again, a lot of us in the industry never quite understood it openly. Was talking about it in the offices, even offices where we're talking about building it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I looked at there about work and things, but um, it's on and off. It's doing this, it's doing that. It's overdue. Most major projects go overdue for a variety of different reasons. Yeah, and we can laugh about it when you actually analyze it. Yeah, there are sometimes. Sometimes it's because they've over-egged the delivery date to begin with. Yeah, they've made it more appealing by dragging it in, and they've already know it's going to go over, and that's a political and a trick that people do. Okay, yeah, as I say, think of a number and double it. Sometimes if somebody tells me 3 years, I think it's going to 6 years before they even start putting something in the ground. Yeah, um, and that could be from different things. You find something when you're doing surveys with design. There's different other problems come in. Um, Suddenly we ended up halfway through it, or when the with this COVID pandemic, which did highlight one thing: we don't need to congregate in mass offices everywhere. Yeah,
Well, that's an external force,
yeah.
and
But I'm saying, yeah,
you can forgive external forces,
yeah, but
and it isn't the capacity of the surveyors, etc. Because if it's a private sector,
yeah.
it would be on time because they get paid for what they do and not the time they take to do it.
There's a lot of private
It,
contractors
it
involved in it. Very
it's
little
only
of it was done internally.
it's only the public sector that are dragging the feet and drawing it
Yeah,
out and making it
yeah,
more expensive. And
yeah.
so the only difference I can think of it between the public sector and the private sector is that the public sector wanted to milk it more when
Mm.
that boils down to corruption.
Um, Possibly every project you'd ever come across is like that. I'm not going to make allegations. I don't know. It is a. It's always been a bit of a contentious issue. Like I said, when it was first started, it took them
Yeah.
years and years to decide to actually do it, which immediately brings suspicion. If there was an absolute need to do it, it would be done. Yeah, it was a. We call it. Nickname is a vanity project,
Yep. It
and
from the conception to the go ahead, it took 2 years.
mm,
Just to just to just to let you know.
it took longer than that.
No, it
Actually,
took two
yeah.
years.
Yeah,
You
the
rubbish
thing
that
that
one.
yeah, I was in the industry. It took longer than that. Um, the
I
the
checked it yesterday.
well, okay, yeah. All I'm saying is that you say the concept has been going around for years. Um, the yeah,
2016.
yeah, but it's a yeah. I mean, I've seen all the earthworks when it all first started to do all the digging up around like Old Oak and going through. Yeah, some a lot of the work was already been started. Yeah, I mean, some of it's Crossrail, some of it there, yeah. But it's a no, it wasn't there. Sorry, I got the wrong thing. Yeah, but it's a it's a vanity project. We've always said that it was always going to lead to disaster in some ways. They spent so much money on it, they don't want to give it up, which again is understandable. On the other hand, um, it's been dubbed the rich man's railway
Yeah.
because only wealthy are going to be able to go on it. Yeah. Again, why do I need to be at Birmingham quickly? As you sort of said, I mean, I
10
like
minutes.
train. Yeah, I like trains. I've always loved trains, as I've done before. I think they're an incredible way of transport. Brazil's crying out for a decent train system, railway system, as is the US actually. Um,
Funnily enough, funnily enough, you mentioned that in Brazil, they're starting to recuperate old train tracks,
yeah,
uh, bringing on new services,
mm,
resurging old services that had been stopped
yeah,
because of the cost of the upkeep and all this.
yeah,
They start to recuperate some, and so some are very, they're very few and far between.
mm,
But and they're quite isolated. Each one, there's nothing connecting all of them together.
no, no,
Um, but different states have got their own train tracks, and they're
yeah,
starting to get federal investment from the central government
yeah.
in Brazil,
I
so they
mean,
can projects.
to me, it's a natural way of moving things, that in trams and yeah, mass transport systems. Yeah, that you filling 200, 300 people at the same time on some of these things and move them to somewhere else quite quickly across town. Yeah, at a relatively low cost. Yeah, I mean, okay, fares are relatively expensive in Brazil, admittedly as well, but um, yeah, everyone relies on public transport here, so it makes sense. Um, it's like I said, and this is what I'm going on talking about now, that maybe the requirements for it actually when it's built have changed. Um, Again, I'm looking, yeah, okay, we continue on, we build this thing, 8 people use it regularly, sort of thing. If you know, it's going to be more than that, but yeah, um, is it going to be beneficial? I mean, okay, people are starting to go back to offices again, but it doesn't mean somebody's going to be traveling from London to Birmingham. That's the whole idea for commuting as well. The ability for people to commute from one place to another. Um, so you could live in Birmingham, you could work in London,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
and vice versa. Or you could work in the southeast and get up there, and then again, HS2 would allow easy,
Well, that was what the 125 was made for.
yeah, well,
Goes
yeah,
goes from Edinburgh to London,
yeah,
uh, Doncaster,
yeah,
Doncaster to London. Many people were using the 125 to commute from Doncaster to
yeah,
London,
yeah,
increasing the price of housing in
mm,
the Doncaster area
mm,
because
yeah,
people in London were finding out that it's a lot cheaper to buy a house in Doncaster.
yeah,
You get more bang for your buck,
yeah,
and that's to move to Doncaster. When I lived in Doncaster donkeys years ago,
mm, yeah,
uh, and that's what the 125 was about. And
yeah,
the HS2 dream,
mm,
don't forget, the part two of the stage two of the HS2 was
mm,
to stop people in the north of England from complaining
yeah,
because originally it was only going to go from London to Birmingham anyway,
yeah,
or perhaps to Manchester, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah,
then they said that they would make it go up to Leeds and to all these places,
yeah,
and then they paid for all that surveying and
yeah,
the uh, to be done, and all the
yeah,
councillors and all the whatever
yeah,
it was, and then they decided a little bit later on, when it was safe to do so,
yeah.
they cancelled it again, saying it was far too expensive.
But that,
And
yeah, I mean, actually,
I think the northern people just gave up.
yeah, if I'm being honest, like I said, I can't really understand a link between London and Birmingham. I could always understand HS2, that actually helping the north, of having better rail links between northern towns. I'll speak as a southerner here, yeah. Yeah, the grim north, you don't have anything up there already, although you can get about quite easily. That would
It's
have
still
made more sense. HS2 as a standalone project would have probably made more sense in many ways to me, for me. But yeah, why waste some money on HS2? Why waste some money on us people down in the southeast? We don't want to go north, really. We're quite happy down there. We don't need to be there 10, 20 minutes earlier. We try and avoid going if we can anyway. Yeah. So yeah, it's you guys who want to come south, as it were. But yeah, I mean, I think more transport links to the north of England would have been a much better way of doing a strategy, a national strategy for everything. Like I said, at that point, it wouldn't have been so glamorous. Yeah, the York, yeah, the lead sort of the Leeds to Liverpool Express railway. Doesn't really make it doesn't really sell it, does it? But yeah, I think
the way the rail network uh, is planned, because trains they can't do a right angle turn,
no,
right?
no, I know that. Yeah,
And so all the principal lines go from north to south,
yeah,
or south to north, depending on where you are.
yeah, and you cross country need, yeah.
And then the cross country ones, they go zigzag,
Mm.
and that's when you have to start changing trains and going from one to the other to the other to the other.
That's what I mean. It
So
more,
to get
more.
a dedicated line from Leeds to Liverpool,
Mm.
it's a little bit. You'd have to put another track in somewhere,
Yeah, that's what I
because
mean. That would have made more sense. Something like that would have made more sense. Um, Railways are not so disruptive across um, the English countryside. The roads are. Yeah, it's easy to build a road still than it is a railway. People have a fear of railways, but yeah, you move in a lot more people, a lot more rapidly. Again, it would have made more sense. I think it's too late now to even consider it. Lots of reasons. And yeah, I'm getting to it. I mean, are the social need for it? I mean, what do we want a railway for now? I mean, if we've got lots of office space now in London, lots of office space in Leeds available, lots of office space in Manchester, in Liverpool, in Birmingham, yeah, which just shows. I mean, I think we're going to find the balance. More and more offices, companies are now going back to. And again, this is all connected with possibly the way I'm thinking. I know we're talking. I read about the mess that the HS2 is. The HS, yeah, HS1 is in. HS2, sorry, is in. Um, that was inevitable from day one. A government minister who stood up saying, "I'm going to sort it all out." That's a brave thing to say. I'm going to have a serious look at this. Yeah.
I think it's a worrying thing for the public taxpayer to hear.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you were giving it to somebody who could possibly actually do something, I uh, then maybe yes, somebody switch it totally to the private sector. Yeah,
There
here's the
you are.
key to have a turnkey project on it. Yeah, do it.
But then there's always the worry that the private sector is going to say it's inviable. We don't want it.
Well, I think they've already said that. And I've just given you reasons why no one would probably take it on. What is the actual need for it? What we're going to do with it when we've done it? Yeah. We built this railway and nobody's using it. I think people will. Yeah, I think that when it is built, it will suddenly hit capacity. Depends on the pricing strategy and everything else. And like I said, people going from London to Birmingham, okay, there's going to be a couple of stops in between. Is that beneficial in this day and age? Um, yeah, I mean that's the other fear. Like I said, I think there's more things about allowing more physical communications, yeah, transport across in the north of England.